Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 852. I'm Tom Cagley, your host. The SPaMCAST 852 features our essay on scaling attention. Seth Godin's observation that attention doesn't scale highlights a crucial point. Attention, like time, is a finite resource. We often conflate scaling and allocation, but they are distinct topics. A human capacity for focused attention is limited, regardless of how much time we spend awake. Today, we dive in to the details. We also have a visit from the Evolutionary Agilist, Jeremy Berriault. Mr. Berriault and I discussed the pervasive use of the term resources that allows organizations to distance themselves from people. Mastering Work Intake sponsors the SPaMCAST. Buy a copy, link in the show notes. Want to talk about it beforehand? Mr. Willits and I offer free 30-minute office hours, link in the show notes for you to sign up. We can discuss what work intake means and the utility of buying the book. Scaling Attention by Thomas M. Cagley Jr., Megan E. Cagley. Seth Godin's observation that attention doesn't scale highlights a crucial point. Attention, like time, is a finite resource. We often conflate scaling and allocation, but these are distinct concepts. A human capacity for focused attention is limited, regardless of how much time we spend awake. This fixed amount of attention, our attentional budget, can be allocated to various tasks and activities. Allocation involves choosing where to direct your focus, like deciding to read a book instead of browsing the internet. Scaling, on the other hand, refers to the intensity and scope of that focus. While reading, you narrow your focus to absorb information more deeply, increasing the intensity of your attention on a chosen subject. Think of it like a radio. Allocation is choosing the frequency you want to listen to, while scaling is adjusting the bandwidth to focus on a narrower or wider range around that frequency. You can't increase the total amount of radio waves, just as you can't increase the total amount of attention you have. Since the total amount of attention is fixed, the key is to maximize its effectiveness. This means focusing on efficient attention management, not misguided attempts for scaling. Effective management includes strategic allocation, prioritizing tasks and directing attention to the most important ones. Distraction minimization, creating an environment conducive to deep work, minimizing interpretations and distractions. Cognitive strategies, employing techniques like mindfulness, time blocking, or things like the Pomodoro technique to enhance focus and prevent scattered attention. Delegation and automation, offloading less critical tasks to free up mental resources for high-value activities. The desire to scale attention, despite its impossibility, stems from several factors. Modern society often equates busyness with productivity, fostering unrealistic expectations. Many people simply misunderstand the inherent limitations of attention, treating it like an unlimited resource. Fear of missing out and the constant influx of information contribute to a sense of urgency, pushing us to try to do more than is realistically possible. Finally, a genuine drive to achieve goals can lead people to overextending themselves and burning out. Instead of chasing the illusion of scalable attention, we should concentrate on optimizing the attention we have. This involves acknowledging its limitations, understanding our individual attention patterns, and developing strategies to use our focus more effectively. It's about working smarter, not harder, with our attention. Thoughts, comments, all welcome. Please feel free to reach out to us at spamcastinfo@gmail.com. Jeremy Berriault, welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
It is always a pleasure to be here, Tom.
I look forward to our conversations. So, Jeremy, I want to thank you for being a resource on the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Thank you. No, it's been great. Like, we've been doing this for over 12 years now, I think, or close to it.
How does it make you feel, though, when I call you a resource?
Oh, well, I don't particularly like it because I'm a human. I'm not a thing.
Nobody other than me, I don't think anybody who listens to this podcast, well, that's probably not true, but most of the people who have listened to this podcast, for all they know, you are an AI and you're just self-generating these conversations. So are you a resource? What's a human? What's a resource?
Well, I've done a lot of research on over, I guess, the past couple of years, and I think you and I have had these conversations before as well.
Just a few times.
Just a few times. And
usually with
the term, yeah. And the term itself was initially, I think I fell into the trap, like everyone else, like most leaders and managers and organizations fall in traps. Like, oh, we have our resources. We have this, everyone's a resource. And because they're providing some sort of output. And the more and more I thought about it, the more it's like, it just didn't sit well. Right. It didn't, like, when we talk about resources from a energy perspective, like there's oil, gas, those are resources. Those provide something. They do something to provide value. I'm not a piece of rock. I'm not oil. I'm a free thinker. I can do my job. I can do what I need to do to get stuff done and provide value in that fashion. And I think it just kind of demeans the point of some of the stuff that I can do to help and provide that value.
But Jeremy, just like natural gas, oil, heck, even solar, which is relatively close to limitless, or at least on a relatively short-term scale. We use those things up, and when we're done with them, we get rid of them. Why are people any different? I mean, what the heck? I won't talk politics, but that sure does seem to be the way a lot of organizations treat people. Hey, when I'll squeeze you for as much SQL code as you can write, and once we pass on to something else, hey, baby, go work someplace else.
Well, and yeah, and I guess that's probably like the main view people, like some people, most people or whatever would have. But it's a couple of readings that I did, like Simon Sinek, his Leaders Eat Last. I've just finished also reading The Crux. And as you go through that, they show and they tell, like, yes, you can treat people like that. You can treat them as a kind of a resource to just, okay, you're a SQL developer. I'm just going to use you until we're done with SQL, and then we're going to move on. But they show the value that they could provide if they just kind of treat everyone like a human and help improve and help them learn. The value extends beyond, and it almost creates a legacy for that organization and even for those leaders to build an ecosystem, so to speak, where things will thrive once they leave. And it just builds an environment where people are motivated to work. It builds an environment where more innovation can happen, because now it's, instead of a resource, you being treated as a resource where you're kind of not really a free thinker, you're just being told what to do to provide something out. Now innovation will come out even more throughout the kind of more free thinking and kind of coming up with better ideas, not only just to improve any sort of product or service, but also to maybe help improve internally in how to get things done.
You've used that term free thinking. I don't know what that means.
Well, just, I guess, free thinking.
I grew up in a time where there was things like free love. I know what that meant, but free thinking, what tell me about free thinking.
Just when organizations provide sort of guidelines and end goals, like kind of this is kind of where we want to go, and let the teams kind of figure it amongst themselves, let people figure amongst themselves how to reach those goals and how to reach those type of tasks or get the tasks done that need to achieve those goals. That's what I mean kind of by free thinking. Instead of having someone over my shoulder, I remember way back when, early in my career, when I started out, just after graduating, basically I had a team lead kind of sitting over my shoulder, literally watching me write test cases as an analyst and telling me, it's okay, don't write it this way, don't do this, don't do that, do it this way, do it that way. Whereas now, in previous incarnations where I was like a manager or a director of organizations, I would not sit over one and say, okay, here's kind of, okay, you got to write test cases. Excellent. Here's some guidelines. This is what I would like you to kind of, this will help you out. Here's the value of how it's going to help you out. But it's up to you to write the test cases. You'll see whether it's going to be, you're going to write 2 minutes or 2 less. You'll go through it and you'll understand it and give them the trust to do it. And I got more work out of teams when doing that than I know that I put out when I was the initial analyst.
But Jeremy, I'm the manager. I'm smart. That's how I got to be manager. I was smarter than everybody else. Why shouldn't I tell people what to do?
Well, yes, and some leaders now do get their roles based on they're really good at their job, and they put them into that manager leader type role. It's a different type of way of thinking that needs to happen when they go into those leadership roles. It's no longer kind of I'm not going to say command and control, but more just kind of control. You're not controlling the people underneath you to do the work. You're giving a command in a sense that you should be given the guidelines and treating them as individuals so that they can grow themselves, and then let them get the work done, and then they'll figure it out.
They'll come for my job next. That imperils me. What if they make a mistake? What if everybody sees they're smarter than I am? What do I do?
Well, it happened to me before I became a full-fledged consultant on my own. The organization I was working with, I had teams. The people in the teams that I was managing, they were way smarter than me in the industry. It was a U.S. healthcare industry. Me being a Canadian, didn't know much about it, obviously. And they knew what they needed to get done to get the work done. But I helped them, I managed them as individuals and as a team to kind of give them guidance on, okay, cool, you guys know what you're doing here. You know the subject matter. Here, let's work together to try to figure out how to get things done better and faster and more efficient and provide that quality. And as we were working through, and I know I saw one comment on Glassdoor a while ago saying that they couldn't believe they hired someone from a bank to work in a U.S. healthcare software company. Case it didn't take me too long to figure out that it was me. But what happened was when I first came in, even the CEO, they're kind of like, okay, we're gonna bring you in. We'll see how it goes. They didn't have that high of expectations of me. I guess maybe that's good. They set the bar low, but I didn't know that. In the end, the teams got to a point where there was within 3-4 months, we had a 20% improved efficiency in how we got the work done within the team. And they asked me, it's like, oh, like, how did you do that without knowing like the US healthcare? It's like, well, I spend a few days trying to figure things out, like to understand the healthcare system. But for the most part, everything else is just how to treat the individuals and help them get better at what they do and give them that guidance. And when you have leaders that do that and treat them like that, the morale's going to shoot up. They're going to figure stuff out on their own, and they're going to have more stewardship in the work that they do so that things can get better and better and improve as you go on.
I think we can all buy that this is a good idea. What advice would you give a newly minted middle manager, somebody just coming off the line, in terms of how to be truly a leader and not treat those around them as if they were cogs in the wheel or ghosts in the machine or resources?
4 things I can think of is, 1, like, acknowledge individuality. Like, know that everyone is different, that everyone that's gonna be working with you and under you from an org chart perspective, they're all individuals, they're all people, everyone's different. Acknowledge that. Don't treat them as someone that's just like, "Oh, you're a tester, you're a tester, you're gonna give me test cases, you're gonna test. You're a developer, you're gonna develop code, and that's how you're just gonna develop code." Everyone's individual, has individual thoughts, behaviors, way they do things. So acknowledge that. Like, be prepared for that. Understand emotional intelligence. I think that's a big thing, and that's a big thing I've been kind of promoting for the past year now is understanding emotional intelligence within teams and how to communicate effectively with each other. Then you want to foster that respect. I think that's probably, in the end, that's going to be the full trust and respect are going to be the 2 things that should be the foundation of everything. Once you have those, it leads off to a lot of good things that can happen within the team and within your organization.
Before we wrap on this topic, this is the beginning of 2025. Why are we still having conversations about the need for dealing with things like emotional intelligence in this century?
I think probably I would say the biggest probably thing that's causing us to still have these conversations is a lot of people are still used to the way things were done back in the 80s and even into the 90s before things really started to progress and the information age came in once the internet and everyone got the information at their fingertips. And I think as things improved and evolved and got better, like even technology, things started going at a faster pace that I don't think that the emotional intelligence, yes, we've talked about that. It's been talked about for a while. I think I first heard about it like probably 15 years ago, I think. I think we're still talking about it because it hasn't caught up to everything else that has evolved and improved. I think now we're slowly going to start getting there. I think I can see it probably in the next few years. It's going to start coming out more, and it's going to be, I think organizations are going to take more and more take notice of what's going on and how to use that to help teams evolve.
Why do you think that? Because I'd actually argue that I think it's going to go exactly the opposite way. Why do you think this is going to be embraced and that we will get closer to nirvana?
I don't think we'll get closer to nirvana, but I've made it, for me personally, I made it a goal to try my hardest to show and to help improve the knowledge, improve the understanding of how this is going to help. And there's a lot of other peers that I know that I have that are starting to do the same thing, kind of being very employee centric, individual centric, and understanding how to work with everyone and try to instill and improve and achieve those goals for the organization to succeed. So I think that's just my belief. I want to be very positive. And I think that was one of the other goals I've made for myself is to try to stay as positive as I can and help as many people as I can.
Jeremy Berriault, how would people get in touch with you? How would they get in contact with you so that you could provide and help them?
They can reach me through my website at berriolandassociates.com. You can also reach me through LinkedIn, Jeremy Berriault in Toronto. And you can find me you can email me at jberriault@berriolandassociates.com.
Jeremy, as always, this is absolutely marvelous. Thank you for sharing your time with the Software Process and Measurement Cast listeners.
My pleasure.
In Reread Saturday News from Huxley. This chapter begins with a phenomenal quote from Huxley from Science and Culture. It is the customary fate of new truths to begin as heresies and end as superstitions. Several years ago, 2008, I wrote an essay suggesting that radical ideas like Agile begin at the fringes and then assimilate to the center. I wish I had run across this quote that highlights the life cycle of ideas. In Chapter 5 of Development is Freedom, Sen reviews the impact of capitalist markets on freedom and development. In the Software Process of Measurement cast number 853, we'll feature our interview with John Conifay, the CEO and founder of Integrate. John and I talked about program management in complex environments and the impact of introducing real-time collaboration. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?